What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Hoops and Football. I am Shannon. So, as you guys would see from the title, today's episode is just about a couple, probably three targets again. Another three-target video of some people that I think that Richmond should trade for or aim for in the offseason. Now, some of these are probably a bit far-fetched, but I'll give you my reasons why. So, let's get into it. The first target, in my personal opinion, is probably one of the targets that we should go for. It's probably like number 2 behind Harley Reid is Zack Butters. So, I know he's still in contract until next year, so technically it's a restricted free agent, but we're going in with pick 2 and 3 right now. If he is to say he wants to trade, and we'd like to go to Richmond, obviously we can match the salary of anything that the Port can give him. We have a bigger arsenal. I think people tend to forget that Dusty's gone. Lynch will be done with his big 7-year deal. So I think he's highest paid right now, $1.5 million per year. So you take into account he plays one more year. I would say Richmond probably offer him $500,000 a year. So there's $1 million back in the bank. Dusty's gone, so there's $2 million back in the bank. Shea Bolton's gone. Daniel Rioli's gone. Baker, Graham. It could be $3 or $4 million plus just there alone that we have still waiting. Obviously, you don't want to spend all your pennies in one basket. Eventually, you're probably going to have to pay Lawler. I think we can all agree he's probably going to be a superstar. But Zack Butters, to me, when Toby Nankervis and players like not Dylan Grimes, but Nathan Broad, Nick Velostone, Tom Lynch, Dion Prestia, they all go. To me, Zack Butters and Tim Taranto can be the leaders of the future. You can have Zack Butters as a captain. Obviously, you might need to give him a couple of years. Timmy Taranto can be the captain, and then you can have Zack Butters as the vice captain. So, obviously, we all know that we are the second youngest team in the AFL behind Freo. I think we're 24.7, they're 24.6. And we also have the second least experienced games behind them. Or them or North Melbourne, not the two. It's not by much either. But for me, the way you could sell Zack Butters on the future, obviously, and the money, he's going to come to a big club. So Richmond has 90,000 members, I think, as of today. So it's not like Richmond is going to be... He's going to be coming in and playing for North Melbourne, or a West Coast, where West Coast have big fans, but it's not as crazy as what Richmond fans are. So you can sell that point on him. To me, but he also brings in the right age. He's in that middle. So he's 24 this year. So he's not... He's not 27, 28, so he can still be around. So you give him 8 years. Give him a 7-year deal at $1.25 million per year. You can front load it, or you can back load it. It's up to the club, or maybe up to what Butters wants to do. But that gives him to his about, say, 31, 32. He'd still be playing good football, but in that time, in the next 3 years, so by the time he's 28, so when he's in his prime. So I think the prime in the AFL was like 23 to 29 is in your pure peak. So he should be in right smack in the middle of his bloody prime, where you should be able to sell him on that, where he should be competing. And he'll have someone like Sam Lawler, Taj Houghton, Jonty Fall, Tom Sims, Luke Traynor, Tom Brown, Josh Gipkiss. You've got all this young talent behind him. Dustin Martin looks like he's going to be coming to the club to help out with plays. Now, you can't tell me that Zack Butters didn't grow up watching Dusty and played against Dusty a few times to see how good he is to not pick that genius brain of Dustin Martin that he is. Now, he's played 128 games. So then you're bringing in that middle-aged tier, which we are going to be missing very shortly. We're going to be going from being too young and too old. You bring in that middle age. Brings 128 games of experience. So that's the key core of development with our young players. He'll be able to help out a Taj or Josh Smiley. So experience. Leadership, he's quite known as a good leader. We've all seen the thing with Jason Horne-Francis. We all know Zack Butters isn't afraid to pull people aside and talk to them or call them out on the game day and make them understand what they're doing wrong. And we need that for players who are growing up who are coming into the AFL system. And look, we're probably going to be down for the next 2 years, so there's a couple more young guys are going to be coming in. So, look, I'll just go over some key stats for him over his career. So, he's most things this year, he's actually elite in a lot of stats. So, just this year alone, he is a elite disposal getter at 27.8. His handballs are elite at 15.7. He's what is he? His clearances are 7.7, so he's also an elite category. And as we know, Richmond itself is very bad at clearances. I think we are last in clearances in the whole entire competition. He is classified as an elite clearance player this year. Career, he's above average at 3.5. So at least he is bringing in as a clearance specialist and speed, because we know Zack Butters is quite a high-paced runner. So that means your Hopper, your Taranto, probably Smiley and Sam Lawler can get that handball out to a Taj Houghton and a Zack Butters if you were to get Zack Butters to come in. But this year's career, he's a little bit lower on his stats, and that could just be coming from poor form from Port Adelaide itself. And that tends to be quite a common thing when a team is hot and firing and they're winning. Your stars tend to get a lot more touches. But when they're not, you can struggle. So Zack Butters is averaging 22 1-point disposals this year. But that is above average for a player. His clearances are slightly down. He's at 35. What's that? 3.5. So it's not horrible. But it's something pretty good. It's what you want to see as well. So, look, I think it's probably if you can't get a Harley Reid, I'm definitely taking a phone call or making a phone call to Zack Butters to pique the interest to see if he would have the desire of coming back to Victoria this year. And you could sell it to Port that, look, we got the picks. We can give you pick 2 for him. They might ask for 2 first-round picks, which is probably fair enough. And that's when you just go, we'll give you... there's 2 scenarios in it, I think, to be 2, where it could be we give you pick 2 and 3, and they give you back future first, maybe. Just because Port, I think they're going to bounce back pretty quick, where Richmond aren't, so you would like to at least get a future first round back. Or it's similar to what people want to do for Harley Reid, it's a pick 2 or 3 this year. Most likely you're probably going to give them it's hard because this year's draft is so South Australian dominant, and that's probably what they're going to be after, is getting the picks this year. You give them pick this year and next year, and 2 first round picks, and maybe we get back a couple of seconds and thirds and fourths just for the father and sons, because we know we've got a fair few father and sons coming up. But that's for Zack Butters, and I think that's probably something we are missing in our midfield. I know we've got a lot of young forwards, midfields coming up, but it's that speed, contestant, ball winner, and leader all at the same time. So he nearly gives you 5 points of difference as a player coming in. He's a mature age, so he's 25, so he's in his peak, just hitting his peak. He's played over 100 games, which we are short on that experience. He's got a leadership. He's a good clearance player, and he's actually a quality user. So and he's also battle tested as well. That's another point you can take. He's a battle tested player. He's played in finals. He's been around quite a long time. He's had a lot of superstar players with him and coaching him as well. So Zack Butters, look in the comments below. Tell me what you would trade for him, or if you would take him if you couldn't get a Harley Reid. So, that's it for Zack Butters. On to the next one so this will probably the next 2 will probably light a fire around to people. But the next target I have gone with, it's a bit of a ballsy call with the Tassie team sort of coming in, is Tom De Koning. Now I've seen people have made the argument for De Koning, and some people have also made an argument against De Koning. Now, I don't think we would probably want to match what St Kilda is matching, but say $1 million, or you give him a 5-year deal, find a way to make the money look good, but it's front-ended or rear-ended. Probably more likely better be front-ended, just because we're going to have the more money now. You probably maybe we want to build it up for later as a war chest when we're coming into our peak. But Tom De Koning he's 25. He's 201 centimeters, so he's slightly shorter. He can go forward, so you can still play him with a Toby Nankervis, and Nankervis can go forward. We know that. Obviously, that puts a bit of a stinger in a Thomas Sims and a Jonty Fall, which means one of them will have to be playing in the VFL or chopping and changing when injuries come in to eventually maybe play that. Tom Sims plays the duo with Tom De Koning. Tom De Koning, 89 games. So we also just had a conversation about Zack Butters. He's a little bit older than Zack Butters by a year, but he's also nearly played half the amount of games. But it's a hybrid ruck. Very mobile, very good overhead mark. And I'm not doing this for the now. This is for the future. So you're gonna have you can sell it to him as a young player, what a future looks like. We can obviously easily appease Carlton with draft picks. They probably need to look into themselves as going into a rebuild. The whole point would be selling Tom De Koning about Richmond, the club that we are, our core foundations, what we can give him, and then hope that the money isn't the reason why he's going. If it's money, well, we all know he's probably going to go to St Kilda for that I think it's $1.7 million a year. And to be honest, you'd be stupid if you didn't, unless sort of what Tigers did to Tom Lynch. We sold the club to Tom Lynch to say that, look, you're going to lose you lose money on your contract, but you'll probably make it back up on merchandise, sponsorship with being at Richmond, and also, obviously, you're at a big club. So, Carlton obviously is one of the big fours. I'm pretty sure it's classified as Collingwood, Essendon, Richmond, and Carlton as the big four. I know some people bring in Hawthorn as one of the clubs, but it's the main four key pillars, you could say. Look, it's hard with Coney. You got a vision of it. Like, Nate Curvis is a year or two maybe away from calling it quits. He also might want to spend his last couple of years, or his later years at the Tassie team. So my goal for De Koning would be to trying to sell him on the club itself and not just the money, and showing him that he will be growing with a bunch of other young players. We'll give him support. He'll have Toby Nankervis to learn off, which he probably didn't have at Carlton, so he can spend a couple of years with Toby Nankervis picking the brain of a 3-time premiership ruckman. It's not often that many young ruckmen get to have a mentor or a leadership of a premiership, or dual premiership ruckman as well. So he's a little bit below on some of his stats for this year compared to his season. Yet again, probably staying with Zack Butters. Carlton is quite hot and cold, so it's not perfect. But he usually averages disposals is above average. He's sitting at average. He's on 12.8 this year. His hit-outs are down a bit. Clearance, so he does have some good clearance work. He's normally 5.6. He's at 3.5. His hit-outs are meant to be 29.9. He's down to 18. I don't think he's missed many games, but there's been a lot. I feel like his stats aren't showing you the whole package of what he is. So you've watched the start of the year, he was like a house on fire. It was the Tom De Koning and Nate Curvis battle was great, and then he went up against Tim English. He's had some really good battles, and he competes well. He floats down to the defence and does mark, so similar to what Toby Nankervis does. And that's what you want as a young ruckman. Very good mark as a player. So it's a kind of pick your poison on that one. Do you take the risk on it? It's probably not one of my lower categories players to get. A lot of people say you can just grab a ruckman anytime from any club, and that tends to work. My idea with him is to try and have a ruckman that can build with the future, and at the same time probably be a versatile ruckman, because I think we're going away from the days of those big lumpy ruckman. So it doesn't have his weight. They used to have their weight on there on the website. They've got rid of it. He's probably sitting about 90 kilos, so he's not a solid ruckman, but he's that hybrid sort of get to the ball of the ground, has very good leg speed, very good leaping, very good marking ability, and can kick some goals. So that one there will be Tom De Koning, same as the last one. Leave a comments below if you would or wouldn't do it, and and maybe even leave a couple of reasons why you would or you wouldn't do a De Koning trade. So this one is more of a break glass emergency sort of. It's hard. It's pretty harsh because he's a very good player. It's sort of you're breaking the glass because Tom Lynch is retired. And if you look at our key stock tools, so Sims, Jonty Fall, Harry Armstrong are all in their first year, quite young and inexperienced. And then you go Blight, sort of, because he can do it. He can go forward. Akatu the Foul, Liam Fawcett. Most of these guys are only not even in their third or fourth year. So it's trying to find that who can we have to fill the void for the next, say, 4 or 5 years as a forward. Look, you could be pushing it with a 5, maybe a 4-year deal for him. Just a sort of, we need to find people in the right age to help out with the young players, and he's probably not a bad idea. So I have gone with Charlie Curnow from Carlton. Yes, I know. Another Carlton boy, hence why I said in the last part of it with Tom De Koning, it would probably ruffle some feathers. But he's a dual common medalist. He's played 142 games. Probably should have played a bit more, but he's been quite injury. So then you're hoping when he comes over, Serpil can kind of get him under wraps, give him good preseason. I'm not sure how well Carlton's medical team is. It seems to be quite rough over there. But get him in, get his body right, and then you can have him to teach players like a Sims and a Full. So it's not just bringing a player we know he can win a Coleman medal. That's how good he is. But someone who brings the age, the experience, and probably leadership for the forward. So you can use him if remember, this is all if Lynch retires. This is just a break glass emergency one. Bring him in to teach young guys and also help go towards the future. And at the tail end of his career, you might be able to lower a drop when he gets to his 4 years' end. So that would roughly bring him to 32 when he stays 33. If he's still got it, bring his money down. And you maybe do what Adelaide has done with Tex Walker. He just hangs around a little bit longer and he's not the primary number one target. So you make him... But you're hoping, obviously, is that Jonty, Sims, or Harry Armstrong have all come through. Or at least two of them have come through, and you've picked up another one along the way to have two key pillars. So then he can be the second or the third option of a forward. Then allows, obviously, he can get off the leash. And if he gets off the leash, then it helps the other ones. So he's 194 centimetres. He debuted in 2016. So, right, this year he's actually, I don't know, which is quite surprising. Everyone's been quite down on him. So this year he's for his season. So this is for his season. He is actually averaging 11.7 disposals, which is above average for him. He's not below for him, but it's above average in the positions that he plays. His kicking is at 10.1, which is actually matches with his career, which is elite. Goals per game is 2.4, which is classified as elite, which we probably could really use. Goal kicking accuracy is average, which kind of hurts considering the last couple of weeks of what Richmond's done. He's at 56.5%, which is quite funny considering his career is 55.8, and that says above average. Quite confusing there. Very low on tackles, so that's not a big concern for me. Look, the money wise, you can go look. We'll give you 3 years, and then a trigger for your fourth, and you might have to pay him $1 million a year to get him in there. Front load it, sort of what you want to do. I think what a lot of clubs are doing now, or trying to do now, is they get some players in, they front load them now while they got all that young talent who are on that. You look at Sam. Look, you look at all the players we drafted last year. They've all been signed to 2027, I think it is. So that gives you 2 years of having all this talent on low money. So Lynch comes off the books. Probably Dion Prestia is not going to be around next year, so his money's off the books. I'm trying to think who else is quite near the end of their career. McIntosh will be gone. So you got money. The war chest is there for us. Carlton will probably... I don't know what Carlton will want, but I'm telling you, I'm not giving them a second or third round pick. So I'm not giving them pick 2 or 3. Probably maybe a future first. Unless if they want a future... They want a first round pick for this year. The conversation will be, well, then you need to give us a future first, because you're obviously talking about competing for finals next year. So that means the pick's going to be at a lower end. Yeah, that's a risky one. Probably a little bit over the top. But I just thought it's not just going off who is the number one free agents in the market and everyone's throwing in their bid to sell the team to them. It's also thinking about the club's positions and things that have age, experience, and the position they play that can, help the future. Because look at our backline with Tom Brown, Gibbs gets to come back in, and Luke Traynor, and Sam Banks. We're very young, but in our backline we have Nathan Broad, Noah Bolter, Nick Velostone, and Miller's starting to come of age of that skill, but he's been in the system for 5 years. So the core foundation of defence is quite stable. And then you go to the midfield. Taranto, Hopper, Toby Nankervis. That's 3 pillars there. Like right now, Darren Presti is playing. So quite stable for the young players to learn off. You go to the forward line, it's just Tom Lynch. That's really about it. You really got nobody else in that forward line, besides maybe Mansell, but he's still quite up and down, to show these young guys how we're meant to win. So you've got to find that, I think, temporarily as you're building for the future. Sort of what Hawthorn did with Jack Gunston. They brought him back from Brisbane, I think it was, when he was there for like a year or two, and brought him back in to help these young forwards build themselves for the future. So that's just why I've gone with these 3 targets. Obviously, Zack Butters is probably my second option over Harley Reid, but that's probably why I went with him first. So, all right, guys, that's it for this episode. If you could please like and subscribe. We are at 100, I think it's 112 subscribers. We are getting very close to 500. That is it for this episode. So I hope to see you guys soon. And don't forget, go Tigers and stay safe.